Mr. President, first I'd like to ask unanimous consent that I be able to speak for up to 5 minutes, followed by Senator Sullivan, who's on the floor, for up to 15 minutes, and then for Senator Sass for up to 7 minutes before the scheduled recess.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I would hope that everyone in this body has listened to Senator Sinema's important speech on the filibuster just now. I really appreciated her clear-eyed rationale, her rationale to preserve the minority voices in this body and to find common ground in this chamber. And I thank her, Mr. President. Mr. President, I also come to the floor today to support the sanctions on Vladimir Putin's Nord Stream 2 pipeline. Now, I urge all of my colleagues to vote in support of S. 3436, the Protecting Europe's Energy Security Implementation Act. You know, last week, the President of the Ukraine and the Prime Minister of the Ukraine endorsed this legislation. The Prime Minister said the following. He said, Nord Stream 2 is no less an existential threat to our security and democracy than Russian troops on our border. He said, senators shouldn't vote to protect Russia and Nord Stream 2. He said, this is a security matter not only for Ukraine, but for the entire region. I believe the Prime Minister of Ukraine is exactly right. The Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline is being built by Gazprom. For people that aren't familiar with that, Gazprom is the Russian state-owned natural gas company. Now, the pipeline would double the amount of Russian gas going to Germany via the Baltic Sea. This pipeline is an existential threat to our ally, Ukraine. It's a threat to our allies in Europe as well. Right now, Vladimir Putin has mobilized 100,000 troops on the border of Ukraine. Now, he can afford to do this because he is flush with cash. Rising energy prices and reduced American production mean Vladimir Putin has hit the energy economic jackpot. The world is now more dependent on Russian oil and energy. If gas starts to flow through this pipeline, Vladimir Putin will get even richer, more powerful, and the world will become even more dependent on him, the dictator. Vladimir Putin uses energy as a geopolitical weapon. He uses energy to coerce our allies and our partners in Europe. Stopping this pipeline should be an area of bipartisan agreement. In fact, Mr. President, it was an area of bipartisan agreement in this very body until Joe Biden became president. Many Democrats in this body voted for sanctions the first time around. Even Joe Biden opposed the pipeline before he became president. Congress has overwhelmingly passed several pieces of bipartisan legislation imposing sanction on this Russian pipeline. Yet the Biden administration refuses to implement these laws. The Biden administration has now been actively lobbying this body and actively lobbying Congress against this bill. Democrats must think it would give Putin what he wants. I don't get it. They think if you give Putin what he wants, then he's going to play nice. That's not going to happen. Every American president must negotiate from a standpoint and a position of American strength. Vladimir Putin is cunning, opportunistic, and aggressive. He respects strength, not statements. When he sees an opportunity, he takes it. He can smell the weakness. The pipeline will mean an enormous transfer of wealth from our allies to our enemy. It'll make our allies weaker, and it will make Putin stronger. Putin gets stronger, we know he will get even more aggressive. It's time now, Mr. President, for this body to stand up against Russia. It is time to sanction this pipeline. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.